Okay, now I think I'm streaming. Testing. Testing, testing. Testing. Alright. Testing, testing. I got audio now. So file, new. We're gonna design a little micro crankbait in FreeCAD in this stream. So to do that, I'm going to do this a little bit differently than I normally would, I think. I kind of want to do like a square bill, so I'm going to do, to start, almost always start these things the same way. We'll do 8 and 8 and 12. And then normally what I do is I'll draw it so I can do a pad out from there. But I think instead I'm going to do I do a what's that called? Additive pipe to do the body sections. But I think I'm gonna do a small pad. Like 2 millimeter. Yeah. And then hide that, show that sketch. And then do a sketch. Like there to there. And this is going to be a micro crankbait, so I want it to be like an inch long. So we'll do a quarter of the length. And then we need to do another datum plane to put another sketch on. There it is. And then make it come off that vertex. And then we'll do another pipe. From that point, and that's going to be there, and then we want it to probably come back probably just in front of the halfway point. And then start tapering back. So why don't we do like there to there and make that all the way back. So 6.35 times 3 divided by 4. So then that way we can get it to arc up like there to like there, and then kind of taper and come back. And we'll select that point again. And okay. And then want to think about how I'm going to do this here. Which sketch is this one? Sketch. I'm going to copy that one without the plane, paste it, drag it into our active body, and then do map mode to, no, that plane. There we go. Now we copied that sketch onto that datum plane. And then what I want to do is come back to this sketch and then make it say something like that. Except I don't want it mapped to the center like that necessarily. Let's do, well, let me think about this. No. Something like that. Make that horizontal. Drag that inside. Yeah, something like that. And I want what's up with this one? Why isn't this one fully constrained? I don't know. But what I want to do is I want to make that wall like 3 walls thick when I print it, and I know I got a 0.4 nozzle. So I'm going to make this distance 1.2 millimeters. And then I can come back here, do this. Let's make that 13. Make it about a 1/2 inch wide. And then 18 is probably a good number for that. And now when I pad that, it's gonna have this hollow cavity in there. Alright. So it's still gotta make there too. What did I say that was? 11? 12? 12's good there. Alright, got some people joining. If you guys got some any questions about designing lures in FreeCAD for 3D printing, feel free to ask. So that's probably good for that sketch. We can show our datum planes again. And let's hide that. No, we want to hide this datum plane. And then I'm going to copy this sketch. Don't need any of these. Okay. Paste it, drag it into the active body, and then map it to that datum plane. And then we want to make it probably just a little bit taller. So let's do 20. And then we'll make this probably 2.4. I want it, no, that moved that up. I don't want that to, I don't want that to move up quite as much as it did. That's probably good like that. Yeah, that looks about right. So this is going to be the body profile from the side. We're basically building cross sections of the body, and then now we're going to want to have it come up. I'm going to have it taper to like probably somewhere up here. Come up. Yeah, that seems right. So let's do that. And I'm going to need to show my origin. Do a sketch. Make that reference geometry for the sketch. And then can just do that, and then I want to make it, want it to be an inch long micro crankbait, so 25.4. That's going to be pretty stubby. It's going to be pretty stubby. Make it 1.25 inches. 1.25 times 25.4. That's the conversion to metric. Yeah, that'll look a little better. That'll look a little bit better. Close that. Hide my origin. Don't need to show that datum anymore. And then come here and do create a new datum plane, select that back vertex, and then I don't want to just copy and paste a sketch. I'll do another one. Something like probably like that. Yeah, probably more like that. So we'll make this bottom point and the origin concentric, or coinciding, whatever the word is. Make that 6 millimeter, and it's got to be like 4 millimeter at least. Yeah. Okay, close that. I'm gonna have that pad off the front. Is that gonna? I don't know how that's gonna work. Let's go ahead and do our additive pipes now. And then we're gonna just build that out through the sketches that okay, I was worried this was gonna happen. Alright. It's gonna let me do this. Alright, so it'll let me do that. Okay. Alright, so I gotta come back here, and I'll just do this for so that'll work. And then I gotta come back here, do a sketch. Oops. Come back here, do a sketch here really quick. Fill that hole back up. Alright. And now that should let me come back here and do it should let me come back here and do the sketch that I want to do now. Or the additive pipe. What? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? can I do it the other way? Come on. You can do it. That did not work. Why won't it? Alright, maybe I have to... I'm gonna break so many things here. Gonna go back and delete all this. I'll come back and... Maybe I have to make an ellipse. Okay, let's try that. FreeCAD does really weird things sometimes. So you just kind of gotta know how to work your way around them. Now the thing about FreeCAD and why I use it, a lot of people use like Fusion 360. The reason I do not use... It's doing that again. The reason I don't use Fusion 360 is because you don't own your designs if you use Fusion, the hobby version of Fusion 360. Let's try this. There, if you look at the license, for Fusion 360, there's verbiage in there that states that they own the rights to anything you design with the free God dang it. What is going on with that? So, but yeah, that's why I don't use Fusion 360. FreeCAD, you own anything you make in FreeCAD. I got, why is it doing that? That is so strange. What if I... What if I do this? Now what does it do? Still does that. There's got to be... There's got to be a way to get it to not do what it's doing. Hmm. Now what in the world? Well, let me try this. Oops. So that's not going to work either. What about additive loft? It does that again. Why? Why? That's not what I want. What if I do... See, the weird thing is, like, if I click this sketch and I do the pipe the way I always do it, yeah, it works. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it just like that, right? So why in the world is it not letting me do it this way? Well, what if I do... what if I do this? Just for science. It does that again. Why? Why? What is going on with that? I've never run into this before. This is so weird. This is so weird. Why won't it let me grab that? FreeCAD's being difficult right now. Alright, whatever. Now that I'm looking at it, I think I want that nose to be a little bit smaller. Yeah, that's gonna look better. What if I do this? And then no, it still does it. There's got to be a way to tell it. There's got to be a way to tell it which wire I want going to which. Gonna do some Google foo here and see what it says. If inner profiles are drawn clockwise and outer profiles counterclockwise, the tool gets confused, causing flips or twists. Well, what does that mean? So that's saying that's suggesting it's something with the sketch. That I do not understand. Nah, that's too big. I'm gonna lose my whole audience because they're gonna be like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe I don't. What is going on there? That doesn't make sense. Okay, now that really doesn't make sense. Okay. What if I do this? Alright. Some of you might be realizing what I'm doing. If you realize what I'm doing, can I get a hell yeah in the chat? Let's see if that works. It still didn't. Okay. Sometimes FreeCAD does this really weird thing. With that too. Nope, that didn't do it. um... Alright, I'm going to go about this a totally different way. I'm going to go about this a totally different way. Close that. Instead of trying to make it hollow that way, I'm just going to do another tricky-do. And that means I won't need this pad. Or that pad. Or that sketch. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, go ahead and build the body profile the way I normally would. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, when I get the body profile built the way I want it to, I'm going to scale it down to like 3/4 of the outside shell, and then I'm going to subtract the outside shell from, I'm sorry, subtract the inside shell that's smaller from the outside shell, and that'll make the whole thing hollow. Alright, so that's the rough outline of the bait. Come in here, smooth out these edges. Do something like that. Alright. So there's our crankbait body. That looks pretty good. File save as. Documents. New folder. And then okay. Now what I'm going to do is come to my part workbench and then do a simple copy. don't need that anymore. And then scale factor 0.75. Okay. And then we come in here, transform that back to millimeters. And then we do I think I can shift that back a little bit further even. Move that another millimeter back. That looks about right. And then we'll do a cut. So now that should be hollow. Come in here, make our cube nice and big. Transform. Oops. There we go. There we go. That's what I'm looking for there. Okay. And that's going to be a nice rattle chamber for BBs. How thick is that going to be? From like there to like there. Alright, about 2 millimeters. That'll work. That'll work nicely. Okay. I wonder how well that's going to print without supports. I'm probably going to need supports to print that out. That's fine. Wonder if I can make it jointed. You know what? I think I could make a jointed version, but I'm not going to make this one jointed. I want to see how this will work, and then I might come back and try to make a jointed version. Okay, anyway, let's add some more detail. I know I've got those little stick-on eyes, which are... That's probably about the right diameter, 4 millimeter for an eye. So I'm gonna have it come like Probably about like that, maybe. Down and back a little bit further, maybe. Might be up a little bit too high for the eye. I think like there. Maybe a little bit more forward. Probably like right there for the eye. Ought to do. And then I want to tilt it a little bit that way. And then I'll do a real quick cutout. Yeah. And then I'll be able to drop an eye into that little negative space. That'll work. And the next thing I want to do is the lip. So I want to do a square bill. And I want the square bill to... So let's come over here. I want the square bill to like connect in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this probably like that. And then come down, transform it down like this. Yeah. Oops, that's not what I want. Okay. No, still not. Okay. So if I make it like that, and then I have the lip come in, that ought to work. because then I can do this. And now we'd want it to be kind of like, probably kind of like that, yeah. And then yeah, that ought to do. Except I think I'd want it. Bit more like that. Yeah, that gives me enough room to put a line tie up here. And then that ought to work. Okay. Join those. Interesting. There we go. And then like that. Actually, okay. Okay. It's coming together. Coming together really well. And the next thing I want to do file save really quick. I want to do some hook hangers, geometry. That ought to work. And then something like, oh no, I don't need 2 hooks on this bait. I just need the one coming off the back. Yeah. Because it's a micro crankbait. So then I can just come in